So, hello everyone, and welcome to our live stream today. This is our career development session. And please, if you're in here, type us something, say hi, say hello, tell us where you're joining in from. Say something just so that we know we're not alone here. Jide, please help me in case you see the highs coming in so that we know who and who are joining us. Okay. So, without wasting much of our time, we had our time for 7 p.m. Nigerian time, which is approximately 8 p.m. from where I am. So, join in. If you're already in, please send this link to your friends and ask them to also join in so that everyone can benefit from this program. I'm giving 2 more minutes for the lucky ones to join in. 2 more minutes. 2 more minutes. Two more minutes. Okay, I think we're there. 2003. We will start today with the presentation, the career development seminar that we have today. And our topic is winning strategy for landing your dream job. Before we get started, we'll start with an opening prayer. After the opening prayer, there will be an introduction of our guests. Then we'll take the presentation or the seminar proper. Please start typing in your question and answer your questions in the chat as soon as the presentation starts. If you have any question at all, feel free to type it ahead of the time. We would collate and ask those questions at the end of the presentation. So please type in your questions, write out your questions, whatever question you have, send it in different links that we're using. We have our Facebook, our YouTube, and all the links that we have. Please log in and type in your questions. We are collating everything. And after that, we'll have the vote of thanks and then closing prayer. So without wasting much of our time, we would get started immediately. Jide, could you help us with an opening prayer?
May this gathering be relaxed in the name of Jesus, and may the deliberations and the discussion issuing from this be fruitful to the listeners. And may Chukwuma, who has agreed and who has taken time to prepare this presentation, may he be blessed by this encounter in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen.
Gathering
Thank
is declared started in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much for that wonderful prayer. So, I am honored to present to us our speaker of the day, and I'm going to tell you a lot of wonderful things about this speaker. So, Mr. Chukuma is a business consultant. He's already smiling, you can see. He specializes in helping organizations to improve their performance. So you can see why he's the best person to talk to you about the winning strategy to land at your dream job. He has deep expertise in energy and technology industries and has worked with renowned global firms like PwC, McKinsey, and is currently a strategy manager at Google. Yes, you heard that right. A strategy manager at Google. He holds an MBA from Duke University's Fuqua School of Business and also a BTech from Federal University of Technology, Owerri, our commonly called FUTO University. So, without saying much more than what I know, Mr. Chukuma, you're very much welcome, and I invite you to the stage to please give us what you've prepared for us today. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks, Joma. What what a wonderful intro, and thanks to the Bridge Foundation for giving me this opportunity to share um, my experience and share advice that hopefully will help all of you as you embark on your job search after graduation from school. So, without much ado, let's dive into the slide. Can we move to the first page? Yes. So let's start from here. I think, say, student going to school in Nigeria and about to graduate, there are some things we think about like getting jobs in Nigeria. So like these are four things I've heard, at least from my time, and also what I've heard from people recently. So one is that there are no jobs in Nigeria for graduates. Two is that you must know someone to get a job. Three is that companies, they've already selected who they want to give the job. So the advert is just to fulfill all righteousness. And the last one is that you need to pay someone to get a job. So I would pause here and ask us, like the audience, to say, out of these four, how many of them do you believe to be true? So you can enter what you think in the comment section. Do you think all four of them are true? And if all four of them, which ones do you rank the highest? Or is it three? So you can put in the number that you think and then say which of them do you think is most true. Ogana, you can help us like monitor the comment and see what people are saying. Okay. Did we get any responses? Okay, I think I can see the comments. So people are saying number two, it's slightly true, partially true. More comments. What do people think? I'll give us like a minute more and then we can move on. Okay, I think I'm not seeing any more comments. So let's deal with them one by one. So one is there are no jobs in Nigeria. Okay, or maybe let's start from what people. Okay, okay, I see more comments. Okay. Yes. Okay. Let's start from number one. There are no jobs in Nigeria. And I agree with what Simon entered in the comments, saying, yes, there are not enough jobs. There are jobs, but there are not enough jobs. So that is true compared to the number of people graduating from the university every year, right? And the available jobs, there are not enough jobs. So that is partially true. In that case, there are jobs, but not enough. Then the second one, you must know someone to get a job. I see in the comments, people are also saying that is partially true. I agree with that. Now let's divide it into two. In Nigeria, there are like private sector jobs, and then there are government jobs. I would think that for government jobs, this is where that number two holds more true, right? Where it usually has to be you know someone to actually get into some of these jobs. But in private sector, multinational companies, I think that is not the case. Those companies are profit oriented, they are looking for the best talent out there that they can invest and will help them grow their business. The third one, companies have already selected who they want. Again, if you also look at it from the government and private sector lens, I would say maybe in government that would can hold true. But again, in the private sector, that is not true. Remember, they are looking for the best talent. And I think the last one, you need to pay to get a job. Again, in the government sector, that's possible. You probably know someone who paid to get like the so-called federal jobs. But again, there are in the private sector, that is simply not true. Even in most instances in the private sector, you actually paid during the job search process, right? If you go for interviews and all of that, you are reimbursed for your transportation. You are actually, in some instances, lodged in a hotel by the companies. So these things do exist. So today we are going to talk about like how to break some of these myths. I will share my experience, my personal experience, coming all the way to get to where I am now, and would have the chance to like ask questions, and I'll be able to clarify and share what I know. But before I move to the next page, I know there's something that a lot of us also think is I studied engineering. Can I do finance job? Oh, I studied medicine. Can I do anything outside of that? I'm going to walk you through that your course of study doesn't matter as much for entry level graduate roles, except you are too passionate about what you read and you're like, I must do something in this field. Probably that's where it now starts to matter. Me, I read electrical electronics engineering for my undergraduate. And right now, although I'm in a software engineering firm, I work with engineers, but my work is not engineering. And my first career starting out was certainly not engineering. So I've been in consulting. So again, whatever you study doesn't matter at the end of the day. And this is not because it's Nigeria. I've also seen that happen like in other places, US and the rest. So with that said, let's move to the next page. Yes, so I want to share a little bit about my journey into like getting a job in Nigeria. So my background is trying to relate about all the myths that we talked about earlier. My background is that my parents are just simply traders, right? Who could afford to send me to school? They knew no one, right? And like other parents, they were worried about like when you are done, would you be able to get a job? Now, you would see that I started my journey early. In 2010, uh, that was my second year in the university. I learned about, I heard about fourth year students, engineering students, who were going on to do internship with big firms like Shell, Schlumberger, and the rest. And I was super interested. I was like, how did they get that opportunity? And then I got to learn that because some of them were like the top students in the department, Shell, Schlumberger, and some of these other companies, they come to school and organize like tests and interviews for them and then pick who they want. So when I learned about this, it became more of like my ambition. I wanted to make sure that when I get to fourth year and this opportunity still exists, that I'll be qualified for it. So in 2010, I learned about it, excuse me, and I started working towards it. Then in 2011, the opportunities came. So 2011, 2012, the opportunities came. These companies came back again to school to recruit people for internship. And aside that, I've already spoken to a couple of other friends, seniors who did IT in other places. So I was able to leverage their contact and then submitted my IT application. So I was able to write exams with Shell, Schlumberger, Weatherford, and then after going through the process, I got opportunity with Weatherford and with Shell. And not just me, many of my other classmates in Futo then got those opportunities. So some went to Schlumberger, some went to Weatherford, and some went to a couple of other companies. I think Chevron also organized exams, and then and all of us again didn't have like we knew no one in those places, right? The only thing was that we prepared, we worked very hard, and we were able to get that opportunity. And then I did my IT in Shell. From there, I started thinking about like life after school. What does it look like? I got to interact with a lot of young uh, graduates who were working in Shell. How was their experience? So I learned all of those, and they told me the advice was start early. Start early. Your NYSC. A lot of people waste their NYSC years just, I mean, thinking about like the alawi that they get. I mean, that's too much of a big money in some people's eye. People necessarily don't like plan for the year. They just want to go wear the copper clothes and that is it. But I was going into an NYSC. I had a plan because of everything I've learned. NYSC, I wanted to a place that would not be far from Lagos because Lagos is the center of the action for any recruiting in Nigeria. I mean, it's sad that it's that way, but it's what it is. So I wanted to be close to Lagos. I wanted a PPA that would give me the opportunity to also study and like travel for recruitment purposes. So I had a plan going into NYSC. I went into NYSC. I was on the lookout for like job opportunities. I knew like websites that I needed to go pick up, know what's happening, know which adverts were out there. I knew people to talk to help me look at my resume. I knew people to talk to help me get practice questions to prepare for job tests. And then all of this started paying off. Within my NYSCA, I got invited to a couple of graduate recruitment processes with British American Tobacco, with Schlumberger, with PwC, Ernest and Young, and a couple of other companies. And I went through the process and all of that. Before I passed out, I already had like a job offer from PwC. So I wasn't just passing out, I was passing out for a job that was waiting for me after a few months. So I passed out, I think, May or April 2015, right? Yeah. And then I started working at PwC in October 2015. So that was my journey, knew no one, just having access to information, using those information, and then like being lucky. I mean, luck smiling on me. I was able to navigate like one of the worst fears of anyone who is graduating from school in Nigeria. So that is my story. I would then go ahead like some of the things I've touched before to dive into them deeper. So to let you know what helped me through that process. So the first thing is, as at then, when we were looking for a job, and I learned this very early in the university, was that you needed at least a 2-1 to be invited to most graduates recruitment processes. Well, it could be seen as unfair in some perspective, but that was a requirement. So my goal in school was to make sure that I had at least a 2-1 coming out of school. So if you are still in school, and everybody close to me, I tell them this: try to make sure that you graduate with at least a 2-1. It makes life easy when you are going through this process. Then the second thing was to know about where do I go to find these jobs, right? Because information is power. Access to information is power. So I learned about job boards like Hot Nigerian Jobs. Subscribe to them. Every morning, every day, you get alert that this is what is being the opportunities that are out there. So job boards would help you to know what are the opportunities out there. And the third thing is about working on your resume, right? And when we talk about resume, we are not saying you go and you list, oh, let's say where you worked, you just list your responsibilities. No, you don't just list only your responsibilities. You say what you achieved, right? Let's say you did IT, and then you were able to help improve a process in the organization. Say that. Say, oh, as an intern here, I was able to do this, which helped the company to improve in so and so way. And again, I see people going to do a lot of like fancy templates, all the colors and all. In recruiting, there's something called ATS, Automated Tracking System. Imagine all the young graduates in Nigeria apply for a job to a company that has only 3 HR. They don't have the time to go through those resume one by one. That ATS is meant to screen your resumes and make sure that it brings the best applicants in paper, that is the best resumes, to the recruiter's attention, and then they decide who to invite them. So if you use all those fancy templates, it makes it hard for you to read your information, and it just puts you into the pile of rejection. So you need to make sure that you do your resume in a simple format, achievement oriented. Now, the other thing is preparing for the job aptitude test. Those job aptitude tests, they could be tricky, and they require you to like put in your very best efforts in preparing for them. So another question, quick question, let's type in if you've ever heard of like things like SHL, Dragnet, or if this is the first time that you're hearing of like this type of job test. So feel free to drop in the comment if you've heard these things before, because they are a necessary step for most of the job for you to be able to write and move to the interview stage. Then the next thing is to prepare for your interviews, right? You need to answer the question that is asked in a concise way and providing the information that the person expects. And this is also some sort of training. This is not something everyone knows right off the bat, but by talking to people, by reaching out and getting resources, it will help you prepare for interviews, right? And be able to land your dream job. Oh, I see. Okay, yeah, this is the first time I'm hearing about them. Makes sense. That means we are making progress. At least we are like providing those information that you would need for you to be prepared to land those opportunities. Yeah. So I mean, are the other folks, have you heard about SHL, Dragnet, and other job aptitude tests formats? And then the last thing there is build a community of other job seekers, right? This is not something you do alone. You need to talk to other people who are also going through this process, right? Doesn't necessarily has to be physical, people that you know physical. And that is where forums like NairaLand comes in, right? I made a lot of friends through NairaLand, and we're able to, on the job and vacancy section, you could see if there's a recruitment going on. You would see others who also applied or people who got an invite, and then you are able to connect with them, share ideas, share resources, so that you could tackle the job. I mean, you could possibly also see yourself at the recruitment center when you go to write the test, you know. So on the bottom line, we are seeing that what we said earlier, there are few jobs in Nigeria for graduates, absolutely very few jobs, and they are highly competed for. So you need to put on your A game if you want to land a job, right? You need to put in your best effort so that you're able to land them. So those are like the 6 steps, I think, from my experience that you need for you to be able to land a job. And I'm happy that some of us are learning new things from these things that we didn't know. So I think the thing is, once you've learned these things, is to now make use of this information and start saying, okay, of these 6 things, how many boxes do I check? How many is left unchecked? And how do I check them? So, in the light of that, I put together like some helpful resources that could help the job search. So, of course, you cannot apply to a job if you don't know about it. So, I've put in like some places that you could go to and you would find like information on the jobs that are currently ongoing in Nigeria or that are calling for applications from Nigerians. So the first one is hotnigerianjobs.com. So I don't know if anyone is familiar with these. We could share these resources after the call, so you could have access to it. Second one is jobberman.com. Nairaland, I've talked about Nairaland earlier. So I don't know. Nairaland was like a very helpful resource during my time. Still remains a helpful resource. If you click on this link, you could see a lot of like all the opportunities going on right now. You would see discussion threads, people sharing their experience, people who have been invited for a test or those who have been invited for interviews. And then you could start reaching out to people to like, build those connections. And then there's LinkedIn, a popular LinkedIn. So here you have to now set filters for jobs that are in Nigeria so that you know when those are available. I remember applying to Airtel graduate trainee position through LinkedIn then. So super helpful results. Then the next one is jarushub.com. So this is another place that you could go. And the good thing about Jarus is that they are like interviews of people like you and I, how their journey was from getting to their first job, and people who are now like big folks in the industry and all of that. So you get to read like some inspiring articles and stories. And then you also get information about preparing for interviews. You get information about creating your resume or building your resume. So you get a lot of helpful information from jarushub.com. And then there's this lady on Twitter at Emade Iyamu. She shares a lot of like opportunities when she finds them, right? Jobs are available for graduates, a lot of career advice. So if you're on Twitter, that's one helpful handle to follow. So definitely look out for that handle. So I think with these 6 places as a start, you would get a lot of information about jobs and when they become available. And then job prep materials, like I mentioned, Dragnet and SHL. Dragnet, I added some links so you could go, if you get access to this resource, you could go open it up and see what the Dragnet materials look like. You could go see what SHL materials look like, the kind of questions that they ask, and what they are looking for. For most graduate jobs, you would not progress until you pass some of these tests. So I dedicated my NYSCA studied and for all of these tests so that I could be able to pass and progress. PwC, for instance, uses SHL exclusively. So we wrote a test, SHL at home. And then if you pass that, then you are invited to the office to take another one that is now supervised. So super important. Dragnet, I went to write a lot of Dragnet exams. Wrote Dragnet exam for MTN then. Some of you that stay in Lagos might know Dragnet where they are in Ilupeju on Ikorodu Road, Ilupeju. So you must have gone there to write some. You either know there or you know someone that have gone to those places to write the exams. So I think those are like helpful starter resources that could help you. Again, we'll share this after the section so that you could have access to this and see and explore. Yeah, we can go to the next. Yeah. So I thought it could be helpful to share with all of you some companies, at least in the last 2 to 3 years, that I've heard or I've seen post adverts for graduate trainee roles. So let's also make this section interactive. Take a look at this about 28 companies. This is by no means exhaustive, but in the comment, like try to put in how many of these companies do you know or have you seen their recruitment, or those that you which company on this list surprised you? You're like, oh, I have never heard about this company. So let's make this as interactive as possible. Just put in the comment section how many of them do you know, which one surprised you, you haven't seen it on the list before, or you haven't heard about this company before. Sorry. Friends, let me know that I'm not alone. I'm not speaking to myself. Yeah, I see BCG. Okay, yeah, BCG is Boston Consulting Group, right? It's a competitor with McKinsey, right? So those are like uh big consulting firm, big strategy consulting firms. Yeah, I see Dalberg. Yeah, Dalberg is a consulting firm focused on the social sector. So you could also Google about it and see it's an interesting place to also work if you're excited about like government and public policy work. Yeah, Coronation Merchant Bank. Yeah, which is kind of an investment bank in Lagos with capital in VI. They recently recruited this year actually. So okay, yeah, Coronation, yeah. EY, KPMG. If you've heard about the big four, uh EY, KPMG, Deloitte, PwC. Those are what you call the big four companies. These companies at least recruit 50 graduates each year. A lot of people in Nigeria who are doing well in the corporate corporate circles actually started their career at one of these four places. So that should definitely be top of your list. If no other company recruits each year, I'm sure that these four companies would at least put out adverts each year. They might not hire as much as they would hire in a good year, but at least they would hire for roles. So be on the lookout for those companies. PwC is PricewaterhouseCoopers, EY is Ernst and Young, KPMG has one long name, so just call it KPMG. Deloitte is is there. So happy you're also learning about some of these companies, which is one of the goals today. Sahara Energy, yes, Sahara Energy is a big Nigerian energy company into oil and gas. They also own a couple of power stations, right? It's an interesting place. At least every year they take up to like 20 graduates every year. So definitely. So the goal here is MTN. Probably wouldn't know that MTN also hires every year, right? Or every 2 years. At least I've seen them hire recently. Indomie. I mean, you could also like graduate from being the one like cooking the Indomie to actually working for them and getting some of the money you've spent in buying Indomie back. Okay. Yeah, let's see. So Atto Anderson is also like a consulting firm, but they're majorly focused on tax. McKinsey is a strategy consulting firm. So BCG, McKinsey, Bain, there are companies called MBB. So you could look them up. Dalberg, I've spoken about Dalberg. Nigerian Breweries, Nigerian Breweries, they hire almost like every 2 years. I think I've seen them in the last 2 years hire. Uh, Coca-Cola, I know a couple of friends who started at Coca-Cola. The big three, McKinsey, BCG are in Nigeria. Bain used to be in Nigeria, but they pulled out a couple of years ago, so they are no longer here. Access Bank also hires, at least very often, and I've seen them. I have a couple of friends who joined Access Bank. They even had an advert this year. GT Bank too had an advert, I think late last year. Seplat actually had an advert early this month or last month. So Seplat is an energy company into oil and gas like Shell. Shell already had an advert. Shell needs no introduction. And was like I think early this month or last month. I think it's early this month. Indomie actually their company name is Dufil Primer. They have something going on right now. Coronation is an investment bank. Like I said, they have an I think they had a recruitment early this year. UBA has something going on right now. Seven Up, I think, had something very recently to Total, the oil company. Uh, you have Sahara Energy. I've talked about them. Custodian Investment, uh, MRS oil company MRS. You could have seen some of their filling stations. EcoBank, yeah, needs no introduction. Chapel Hill Denham is an investment bank too. They had something recently. Afri Invest is an investment bank. Stanbic IBTC needs no introduction. Standard Chartered Bank needs no introduction, and MTN needs no introduction. So I see a question: which of these companies are primarily mass communication based? Actually, none of these companies. I remember what I said earlier about it doesn't really matter what you studied, right? In most of these companies, they will train you in what they do. They just want to make sure that you have like the ability to learn the job, which is what they will test through the aptitude test and the interviews they would conduct. So, except you are super passionate about mass communication, I would say in this case it doesn't matter. If you're super passionate about mass communication, probably would like consider a career in the broadcast industry. And I think some of the things we've spoken here would apply to some of them, but I'm not exactly sure how the process works. Yeah, I mean, let's see some pictures. Let's see. So you don't take my word for it. These are like job adverts I've seen very recently, right? The first one is Seplat. As you can see, it's 2024 graduate trainee. If you're able to, I know it's super small, but if you're able to, you could see like their requirements, right? You make a minimum of 2-1, listed a bunch of things. If you check uh, the other one is 7 Up Bottling Company. You could see also 2024 graduate recruitment, right? And you could see the functions they are recruiting for: finance, people and culture, supply chain. Then they are saying you must have a minimum of second class upper degree, which is what I spoke about. Yeah, and sometimes some companies also have like age requirements, right? Some say, oh, you must have completed NYSC and all of that. You could see EcoBank. Now, EcoBank is saying, oh, you have to be 24 years as the date of the application, right? And then they are saying you could make a minimum of second class lower. So they are actually, some companies are becoming like relaxing that requirement these days. You don't necessarily have to have a 2-1 for you to get invited. So, but again, I would advise, if you're in the position, make sure you at least get more than 2-1. So you are open to a lot of opportunities, right? And then you could see even EcoBank went all the way down to say, oh, you must have minimum of 5 credits, including English and Maths in your WAEC. So they can go down to that to that level, right? So those are like sample. At least these images bring it to life what we are talking about. That we are not just talking about things that are fictitious. We are talking about things that are actually real, right? And these are what the opportunities look like. Yeah, let's go to the next page. So I know like there must be some questions in your mind about like we've spoken too much about having a 2-1. And then the question is, what if I made a second class lower or below? The good news is that all hope is not lost, right? Like you could see for EcoBank, they'll give you that opportunity. So still apply to jobs, even if they say they require 2-1 and you have like a 2-2 or below. And let them be the one to reject you. The other thing is you could look for a role, a small role, not all of these big companies, somewhere that you can actually build experience. So when you combine your experience and that you have a graduate degree, you could be able to get into like some of these organizations. In PwC, then I knew a lot of people who joined because they had experience from industry. So they bypassed the graduate recruitment process. And at that point, no one cares about whether it's 2-1 or below. So find roles that would help you to build some of those expertise. So for instance, I mean, some big companies in Nigeria run like customer service centers. You could go, be in that customer service role, build some skills that could help you get into sales. And then from sales team, you could become like a district sales rep. And before you know it, you're climbing the corporate ladder. So all hope is not lost. And then also explore non-traditional industries, right? A lot of people went into tech. If you have the ability to learn how to code, that would really be like great for your career, right? If you say you don't want to do this traditional industry route, so go like look out, how do I learn how to code? And that could be a lot of opportunity for you. A lot of Nigerians I know are doing remote jobs, right? Working for companies that are outside of Nigeria because they know they can code. And then the other question is, what if I cannot find a job? I did all of the things you said, I can't still find a job. What do I do? So my advice is that you don't need to wait to get to that point. Or in parallel, as you are looking for a job, also start thinking about like, can I go outside of the country to go further my education? And when you're doing that, don't just have in mind, oh, I have to leave this country. Any country at all, as long as I'm leaving Nigeria. So you don't say, oh, because of this, I would go to a country where I would not have the opportunity to work after school. or a country that, like, I don't even know, you don't have a plan. So basically, you need to have a plan. Think of countries like UK, Canada, US, where you have the opportunity to work, after your education. And then the question is, if I'm going for masters, how do I fund it? I can't afford it. So good news is that there are scholarship opportunities that you can explore. So you can write exams like GRE, right? It's something required if you want to get into master's program in the US. That would help you to have a strong case and you'll be considered for scholarship. And then there are common scholarship opportunities that advertise every year. So something like Chevening scholarship, Commonwealth, right? AIG, that's Aigi Mokude, the owner of Access Bank, has a scholarship that sponsors people. You have PTDF, which is sponsored by the federal government. You have Rhodes Scholarship. So, like, there are opportunities for you to explore. But again, these things are there, but it requires hard work and commitment for you to be able to get down. Like we always say, luck is preparation meeting opportunity, right? So you have to prepare, do your own part, and also look out for those opportunities, and hopefully the stars would align. Yes. So these are like other consideration I think that might come to your mind as you've been listening to me. So can we go to the final slide? I think that's our questions. Yeah, I've been speaking and I'm hoping some of you have questions. So from everything you've heard, so go ahead and ask your questions.
So, hello everyone, welcome back, and thank you so much, Mr. Chukuma, for that wonderful presentation.
Yeah.
I particularly loved how you structured it. It was not just a presentation, it was very practical, showing really what, where, how.
Yeah.
This is really awesome and amazing. Thank you so very much.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Choma.
So we're waiting for the questions. Please, as I said earlier in the beginning, drop your questions in the chat. I'm going to get your questions and we can handle them one after the other. Okay? So while you were speaking, I already saw a question from someone. And the person was basically asking, he said, I would appreciate if you briefly talk about some of the companies you listed.
Yes, I think that was when I took the time to go through the list one by one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that is great. And then another question that also I have here is someone is also asking, um, how can one, are there some guides for one to clearly prepare for these job applications? Did you get my?
Okay. Yeah, I get your question. So the guide, I think the guide is basically what we have here, right? So one is, if we think about it, one is knowing about the opportunities, right? So we've listed a couple of places that you can know about opportunities when they are out there. Nairaland um, gave like Imade's Twitter account. So those are the places you know, at least you know these are the things that are looking for graduates. So you have that one. Two is preparing in case when they call you back, right? And that is the thing about like preparing SHL, Dragnet, studying those questions. It's more of us like when you are studying for JAM. Those are like aptitude tests. So you need to really like learn, go through the questions, understand. And mostly it's like kind of quantitative reasoning, verbal reasoning, at least at an advanced level that they expect a graduate to be able to engage in. So that's one. Um, I shared some resources that would help you. It has like some answers, question and answer. You could see the answer, see how they're approaching it.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other thing is like just find friends, who like-minded folks who are doing things like this. Those are people you can study together with. Those are people you can share resources with to say, hey, guy, babe, did you see this that Setlat is recruiting? You forward the link. They forward the link to you, right? I and all of my friends who did this, when we were graduating, I had like three friends who joined PwC. I had three friends who joined Shell. I had friends who joined Coca-Cola and a couple of other companies. So, can we go back to the resources question? Uh, yeah, to the resources section. So, someone asked about like the Twitter handle. Just look at it at Emade Iyamu. She's a super helpful resource. Follow her. The other one said, "Can you shed more light on how to write a good resume?"
Mm-hmm.
So your resume has to be three key sections, right? Like as a new graduate, one should be your education, stating clearly where you went to school, what you studied, and what you graduated with. The second section has to be, it shouldn't be more than one page. So need to emphasize that. Second section has to be about your experience, any experience that you have whatsoever. IT, at least three bullets of what you did there. Achievement oriented, showing what you achieved during your IT, or other internships that you had. And then the last part should be about, the extracurricular stuff. If you volunteered, let's say you were course rep, or you were in the fellowship, you were a campus coordinator in fellowship, things that you've done, your hobbies. At the end of the day, your resume has to be like a tool to sell you. And I would contact the bridge and share like sample templates or sample resumes so you could see what a good resume looks like. And then if you also check out some of these other sites that I shared, it will help you to it also provides extra tips that you can read in detail. Yeah, any tips on navigating the oh okay, yeah. Chekube, I just answered you. I would share like some sample templates. Any tips on successfully navigating the interview process? Yes. I mean, a great tip is you have to reach out to people that have done it before, right? You should be able to, they will tell you what like common questions would be, and you can also Google some of these things, and then they will help you prepare. Say your answers in a concise way. It's not about like how you say it. It's not about what you say, but how you say it, right? One of the common questions in interview would be like, "Oh, tell me about yourself." And then you go in, "Oh, I'm Mr. XYZ. I went to this school. I graduated from that school. I did." So you just give like a laundry list. But if you engage someone who has done it before, they will tell you, don't just give us a list, because all of those things you already have it in your resume, right? We already know all of these things. We don't just want to hear them again. Now we want to understand who you are as a person, what motivated you, right? And that's when you start saying things like, "Oh, my name is Mr. XYZ. I studied electrical engineering. I went into electrical engineering," and then you tell them more. Like, I went into electrical engineering because growing up, I loved like working on electronic instruments. I could do things with my hand, and I loved physics and maths in secondary school. So wanted to combine these two things, and then which is why I went into electrical engineering. You are giving them more about you. They are getting to know you more. So interview is also about like how you put together and structure your thoughts. That could be like a separate section on its own, and it has to be like super focused in helping. You have to have gotten to that stage for you to actually start talking about how to prepare for it. But like I hope I was able to give like some pointers to like what they would expect during the interview process.
Okay, then I can help with another question that I have here also. Someone is asking, do you have any advice on landing roles in non-profits? That seems to be one of the fastest recruiting sectors in Nigeria right now.
Yeah, so I would think non-profit, everything that we said should apply to it, right? Everything we said here should apply to it. You need to be aware of those roles, right? They probably might have an aptitude test or not, and they would certainly have an interview. And then maybe it's now time to talk about like an important point around networking. If you're specifically interested in that industry, you go on LinkedIn, reach out to people, make connection requests, write a very nice short message and like professional message that would make someone to respond. You could say, "Hey, hi XYZ. Um, my name is ABC. Very interested in like the non-profit sector. I'm passionate about these areas. I want to solve these. I see you are working in this place, and it's actually one of my dreams to join this place. If you don't mind, I would like to get 20, 30 minutes with you to learn about your journey to get into this place. I believe your advice will be helpful to me as I explore this process. Looking forward to hearing from you. Thanks." Something very sweet, introducing yourself, saying why you're reaching out and what you're passionate about, and respectfully asking for their time. I mean, 8 out of 10 people would definitely respond and say, "Let's talk." And that way, you could get a mentor that would guide you directly. And that also applies to someone that asks about mass communication, right? You could reach out to like people who are already like veteran journalists and ask them. Yeah, I see a question, federal government jobs. Unfortunately, I can't speak to that. Federal government jobs, there are some that could go through this process. I remember there was a time that CBN recruitment and exams were conducted by Dragnet. There were some, I think NMPC did something recently, and I know someone who joined NMPC. Actually, I was someone that I mentor, right? He joined NMPC then, and I think they tried to make it very transparent. Then you had to write all of these exams and all of this. So, um, National Investment Shoving Authority, right? Yeah, I think they also had it there. So some big federal companies, federal parastatals have this recruitment. But if you start talking about the likes of road safety and things like that, honestly, I don't know how those work. So probably you need to look at the more intellectual arm of the federal government, like all those big parastatals, NMPC, CBN, um, Investment Shoving Authority, corporate commissions. I think some of those hold recruitments. Uh
And yeah, another question that I think you can also see this: what of how to get federal government jobs? Yeah,
yeah, I think that
someone
was
is
what I was
asking.
just addressing. So
Oh, okay.
yeah. So say what was like for you before the NYSC call up letter and what activities? So before NYSC, I spent time. I wanted to go like find a school to teach then. But now maybe what you could do is if there are companies that are willing to give you internship opportunities, or even if you could work for free so that you could get experience that you would put in your resume, right? That could be helpful. So look out for things like that. Or you can use that opportunity and start studying on the SHL and Dragnets, right? Start like getting familiar with those materials, but don't be idle during that period. or have a plan. Just have a plan about how you're going to spend your NYSC period. Or in another word, you could have a plan and say, "Oh, I'm not acting on this plan now. I've been through the grind of school. I want to relax before the grind starts again." So you could be passive about it.
Okay. I'm trying to get as many questions as I can, but I don't know if we can finish everything in one call. But I have another question from someone who is asking, who is graduate trainee program really meant for?
Good question. It's for graduates, right? Like as long as you've graduated from a higher institution in Nigeria, at least university or polytechnic, right? So it's meant for you. And yeah, and then just make sure you meet their requirements, right? About like, which means make sure you graduate with a good grade, at least 2-1. Getting with a good grade is your ticket to getting the right job.
I think this person might be asking with this, there is a misconception that it is mainly for new graduates.
Oh no. Oh, I see. Thanks for that extra contest. No, it's not only for new graduates, right? If you go back to if you go back to the sample job ads, if you look at 7 Up, right? They said 0 to 2 years of experience. So that means even if you're already in another job, right, you could apply as long as you are within. Some even say 0 to 3 years of experience. After joining PwC, I wanted to get out to do something else. Within that period, I was working and I recruited for MTN graduate trainee. Yeah, did that, got all the way to the final round, but didn't get the job. So again, if you're already working, it doesn't. As long as you meet their requirement, I think the biggest hurdle is the can be the age. Surely, when some of them are asking for age, that could be the biggest hurdle. So if you're already working, you might not meet that age requirement. So I think Bridge is saying if you don't like the CGPA you graduated with, go for MSc. Yeah, that's good advice. So if the job is not working out, pivot quickly and start like looking for master's opportunities. Don't don't waste don't waste the time, right? Although I would be an advocate for working if you can before you go to your masters, because you are still out of school, you don't know what you want. You just want to, earn some money and figure out life before you decide your next move. I don't even know what course you want to study in your masters. But if that is the hand that life dealt with you at that point, then go for it. Go for higher education.
Awesome. Someone else was also asking, could you please, are there some certifications that, certification boards that one can pay attention to, especially for professional courses?
The only certification I know that helps you, right? If you can do things like ICANN or ACCA, if you're in the accounting line. Outside of that, I don't think certification matters as much for graduate trainee roles. If you join some companies, they would now tell you, and they would actually pay for you to get the certification that you need if it is required. For instance, if you join some investment bank, you'll be able to, they might tell you to do CFA, Chartered Financial Analyst. So you could do that then. But don't spend your scarce money on certification, except you can clearly prove that that certification is the ticket to getting the job. There could be specialized roles like that. I just mentioned one like accounting. But if it's not, save your hard earned money. Better use it and write like GRE or other stuff.
Hmm. I'm asking the last question from my own personal experience. I mean, I think some of them would also benefit from this,
Yeah.
as most of our graduates will be heading to the camp, and usually in the camp they advertise a lot of courses. Say, do PMP, do this one, do that one. What could be your advice for anyone who is going to camp, or anyone who is not very clear about what direction do I want to take? What particular job do I want to take up right now? What would be your advice for such a student?
Yeah. I mean, those things are the advertising camp. They're expensive, right? And it costs money. So my advice would be keep your money. Like, this is the time to, if you are very confused, look for mentors, right? Don't don't be swayed by what you see in camp that they're advertising for. With some of the resources that we shared today, if you go on and read, at least if you go to Jaru's Hub, you could see a lot of stories about people. You could see how people, their trajectory. So go there and read up and just have a fair idea of what is out there so that you are not getting pulled in all directions when you are in camp. Like I said, when I went to camp, I was clear eyed. I knew what I wanted, right? I served in Niger State. I knew I wanted to be going to Lagos at least every month to write exams. I was confident I would get those opportunities. So that influenced me in camp. I came in with a plan. I was like, I know I can't influence where they are posting me to, but I can influence the state they are posting me to, but I can influence where my PPA would be. And I knew the opportunities like in camp, we had like OBS, Orientation Broadcasting Service, or Red Cross, or there are some organizations that you could volunteer with in camp. And then the camp commandant and people that run the camp actually reward whoever volunteers like that by sending you to like good locations. So I knew that was there. I read about it from Nairaland, and that was my target. I went to camp, I joined OBS, worked very hard, reporting on everything happening in camp. And then I got rewarded. I was posted to Mina, the state capital. And that worked out for me. From Mina, I was able to go to Lagos. And then again, how did I use my Alawi then? I think they were paying us 35,000 or so then. I used my Alawi. I was using my Alawi to travel to Lagos. There was a month I had to travel to Lagos twice. The the second travel, I knew that I would be stuck in Lagos. I wouldn't have another money to come back. But I mean, miracles happened. The state Alawi that they've been owing for years, they paid that money. So he completed my money to go to Lagos. So your Alawi is not just for you to, do copper we, copper wa. Invest it in yourself, right? Those are the kind of things you should invest in at that point. So have a plan before you go to NYSC. If not, you find yourself at passing out parade day, not knowing where to go from there.
Thank you very much for those wonderful questions. Just one last one before we go, because I think this is also a very key point. If you could please touch a little bit on the influence of environment and circle of friends on really people getting what they are looking for, especially when it comes to landing of job, applying for this kind of. I think you touched it a little bit when you were talking in your presentation, but I think um, it needs to be buttressed a lot more from my experience anyway. This is why I'm just raising it. If you can touch a little bit on this so that people can understand how important this is.
Yeah. So if you are taking out anything out of this conversation, please take out that to get a job in Nigeria is possible. We talked about the myths. You would meet many people around you who will tell you you are wasting your time. Don't listen to those people. We've shown the art of what is possible. What I shared today, I shared it with my younger brother when he was graduating. He started his career at Nigerian Stock Exchange through their graduate trainee program. Then they were paying them 90K, which wasn't a lot of money. He tried PwC in the first year, it didn't work out. He tried PwC the next year, and it finally worked out. And that was the year I was leaving for my master's program. As you are speaking now, my brother is in the UK. He's working for EY. He's an assistant manager at EY. I shared this with a couple of other people, right? I have a friend, she had a tutu. I shared this with her. We walked through, she started small customer service at Konga and all of that. Now she's a sales manager at the company that makes Hero Beer, AB InBev. All my friends that I went to university with, we had all of this orientation, right? And I can tell you, every one of them, they got like graduate jobs immediately we graduated. And those who didn't get moved out and they went for masters. So be careful who you interact with this period, right? That could spoil your mind, in quotes. I'll tell you this is not possible. Look out for like-minded folks who could show this is possible. It's worked for me, which is why I'm sharing it. Work people that I know. It's what took me to the US today, right? Like acting on all of this information. I don't like, I mean, looking at where I'm coming from, and it wouldn't have been possible to say anybody paid for me to get here. So it's been like hard work and luck, putting all of this information into action. So please, please don't make light of what you just heard. I have a younger sister who is graduating. I'm sharing the same thing with her. I have cousins, nephews, nieces who I've shared this with, and it's worked for them. So please maintain the right circle. If the people around you are not that, go online, go to Nairaland, interact with other people, draw energy from them. So please let that, if that is what you take out of this, I knew I would have spent this 1 hour this Saturday, like, is that an hour well spent?
Definitely. And I think it's also an hour well spent from my side and from the side of everyone who is actually listening. Oh, someone posted one last question. Please talk on
Yeah.
influence of personal social media handles and posts on job application success. Oh,
Okay. So thanks for bringing that up, and hopefully this will be our last question. So social media handle. Some companies want to, when they are verifying, they want to look at your social media handle. A lot of us these days, we do things, we call it cruise and all of that. Please, please, like, your social media, be very careful what you put out there. Be very sensitive. Don't make some kind of jokes, let's say sexual jokes or just things that are inappropriate. Don't put it out there, right? On your social media, only put out what is necessary. And then use your social media to follow the right contacts that you would read information that would help you. For instance, I shared Imade's handle. If you go to Imade's handle, you could see other people that from her posts, you could see other people that post interesting stuff. Follow those handles. And from there, you could also see information, opportunities that are being posted. So please, that is what you need to do. Be very careful about what you post. Don't post inappropriate stuff, and use your social media handles to follow the right people. So that is how I think social media might affect your job search process. I've heard about offers being taken back because people said things out of naivety or out of youthful exuberance, and they said things that they later regretted. So that is it.
so
And
I want
yeah,
to
go
say
ahead, Shoma.
I want to say thank you very much. I
Yeah,
think we are well over our time, and
yeah.
thank you so much for this wonderful delivery that you had today on this topic. This was awesome. I mean, I benefited from it, and I hope every other person who attended benefited. He said, if you don't have to take anything out of this, please take out that there are jobs, you can get them, find like minds, look for mentors if you need directions, and don't waste your scarce resources on certifications that are not necessary. If you are not so much passionate about what you studied, please apply for those jobs. And when you get there, the companies will give you the trainings you need. I mean, there are so many more to take out, but these are the key points I took out of this. Please hold on to this and apply this in the next times you're looking for opportunity. And on behalf of the whole Bridge family, Mr. Chukuma, I want to say a very big thank you to you. Thank you for taking out this time to prepare. Thank you for the patience. Thank you for answering the questions. And we hope that sometime in future we get to have you again on this platform again.
Yeah, always a pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So for the announcements, in the third quarter specifically of September, we will have a panel discussion on how to make successful graduate school application for people who are interested in studying abroad. That will be the next seminar we're going to be having in the third quarter of this year. So watch out on this platform for that. And please keep your eyes open for more information coming your way. And I also saw some persons asking, what is the Bridge Scholarship? It's going to take me a lot to explain, but I can tell you in the brief. The Bridge Scholarship is a scholarship that funds undergraduates at the moment focused in Nigeria, but meant in future for Africa. And what we basically do is it's focused on intelligent and indigent students who have admission to universities but do not have funds to be able to see themselves through schools. We have our application processes. Please keep your eyes on our platforms. On all the platforms you see, we always send information out once the applications are open. If you're qualified, apply for it. You'll go through the screenings and you can become one of the graduates or one of our scholars if you pass the whole selection process. So please keep your eyes on our website. I think the link is already shared in the chat groups. Go there, you can read more about when we started, what is our goal, what is our mission, where what cohorts are we in right now, how many scholars are we in. You can also see the testimonials from some of our scholars who are already graduating. So please keep your eyes on our website at every point in time, and I promise you're going to be getting updated information as soon as they are made available there. Aside from that, Jide, am I missing out any other thing?
No. Thanks to Chukuma for a wonderful seminar. Chukuma, we thank you, and you might not like this too, but Chukuma he's not a visitor to the bridge. He's equally a stakeholder in the bridge. So Chukuma is one of those. He told me 2 weeks ago when we met in Boston. He said we are putting our money where our mouth is.
Definitely.
So I remember 2 weeks ago, exactly 2 weeks ago, we had our discussion in Boston. So he is one of the individuals who is volunteering his resources, his hard-earned dollars to train these scholars we have under the Bridge Scholarship. And he has so generously decided to share his experience with us. So we will be having more of it. And let's take the third quarter seminar very seriously. So in the third quarter, we'll be assembling panelists from professors in the US who are actually recruiting students, deans of graduate school programs, and individuals who have been involved in this sector, so that students in Africa and from underdeveloped countries who are seeking application into grad school in the US, in Canada, in the different European countries, so you can have a discussion with them. So a lot will be going into making this to happen. And we want all of you to participate in it to benefit most from it. And I'm going to, once this is done, I will send the link of this to my nephew, who from the time Chukuma is talking, I believe this content is meant for him. He's just in his second year. So I will send this to him, and we have a follow-up to continue to talk. So whoever you think might benefit from this discussion, send them this link. Send them this link to listen over and over, to get internships while in school, to prepare for job before you are ready for it, to network, and to limit acquisition of useless certifications that take away your money and do not essentially add value to your brand. So these discussions, we hope we in the bridge, we bring it your way every quarter. That is 4 times a year. And give us feedback if you like it or what you want us to cover more. And those of us who are asking for how to get the document, we will share the documents through our different social media handles. So we share it and it will equally be uploaded on the Bridge website. So thank you all and God bless us.
God bless you all.
Mm.